thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but you are mighty. Hold me with your powerful hand. Bread of heaven, bread of heaven, feed me now and evermore. Feed me now and evermore. Open now the crystal fountain where the healing waters flow. Let the fire and cloudy pillar lead me all my journey through. Strong deliverer, strong deliverer, ever be my strength and shield, ever be my strength and shield. Jordan, bid my anxious fears subside. Death of death and hell's destruction, land me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises, songs of praises, I will ever sing to you. I will ever sing to you. Steal my heart and hold my tongue. I feel my time's come. Let me in, unlock the door. I've never felt this way before, and the wheels just keep on turning. The drummer begins to drum. I don't know which way I'm going. I don't know which way I've come. inside your hands. I need someone who understands. I need someone who hears. For you I've waited all these years. For you I'd wait till kingdom come, till my day's done, and say you'll come and set me free. Just say you'll wait for me. In your tears, in your blood, in your fire and in your flood, I hear you laugh, I heard you sing. And wait till kingdom come, my day is done. Hello. I've just been told I'm on.
Oh, sit in there, then. Come
It's 8 o'clock on a Sunday. Hello. Regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man, he's sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. He says, son, can you play me a memory? I'm not really sure how it goes, but it's sad and it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. La 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 la. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood. So what happens when the microphone collapses? Or the mouth organ collapses? Just as we've got guests in tonight, you see, we're trying to be posh. Because they're very, very upmarket. They are. Now John at the bar, he's a friend of mine. He gets me my drinks for free. And he's talking with Davy, who's still in the Navy, and probably will be for life. Oh, and the waitress is practicing politics as the businessman slowly gets stoned. Oh, they're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. La 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 la. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody. We hope you are, and you got us feeling all right. Pretty good crowd for Sunday. What kind of crowd is this?
It's a good
20
crowd.
people,
It's a
40
very
people,
good crowd.
30 people.
It's a lovely
160 people. I need people, Sue. I'm needy. All right, love.
A needy soul.
I'm a needy
you
soul.
are a needy
I am.
soul.
But mainly I'm needy, Sue, because... Why, Sue? Because I'm injured, lovey. I'm an injured soldier.
Bless him.
That I
Had nothing to
There
do
are
with it.
investigations going around. And at 1:35, I love the digital age. Don't you love the digital age? You're in the past, you would say, well, about 1 o'clock I fell out of bed. Now, I say at 1:34 a.m. I fell out of bed. We're so exact.
And it wasn't because he landed on the
I landed on the clock.
radio that's been with us for 40 years.
For 40 years. My sister, Jackie, gave us that clock, saying, you're going to change me. And I won't. I refuse to change it.
Got paint on it and everything.
Yes, it's got paint from each time we've decorated. So we've got this thing. Anyway, we just refuse. It's not that we've not got the money. Don't send us money for the clock. We've got the money. We just refuse to do it. Do you understand the difference? Can you see? So I'm just being bloody minded about it, and I do not want to actually change it. So I said, right, okay, I will just keep the clock. Anyway, fell down. I woke up.
I woke up.
Well, Sue woke up.
I
She
woke
was
up
screaming.
first. I woke up first to
Screaming.
a thump, a crunch, a crash, a smash, and water going everywhere.
Can I just... I love the way you rewrite history. You're so dramatic. You're such...
Who do you believe, people?
Turn
Who
a
do you
drama
believe?
into a crisis. And I'm lying there thinking, where am I? I thought it was a 4 in the diary. She's done 1 and she's got 3 to go. Yeah, she's been very clever this week. But I think she needs the practice. Now, I went to see the doctor, and the doctor checked me out. He said, you've got a little slash here and you'll be a bruise there. But he said, can I just ask one question? And I'm not completely convinced. He said, what's that massive footprint on your back? So...
No, I wouldn't do something like that. I'd be much more subtle.
That's more worry. What are you planning? See? Well, okay, that's not... Anyway, all I've got to say is, I'm here. Injured.
He is here.
Injured.
And in spite of his injuries, people, he's here to give you an evening of joy and delight.
And we have some really tremendous guests in
great
tonight.
Guests
really.
tonight.
We've been chatting with them beforehand, and
you're in for a treat, guys.
You're in for a real treat. Because they are what they say on the tin, and they're
what
lovely,
a story
lovely
to
people.
tell.
What a story to tell. And we're going to do a slightly different evening tonight. We're not going to have any backing tracks at all. It's not because they don't work. It's just because I decided. Okay, I'm lying. They weren't working for us, and Rachel's working tonight. So unfortunately, we're on our own. So we thought we'll just do piano stuff. Is that all right? So anyway, I think where was I? This was
Manager gives you a smile. Manager gives you a smile.
And it's a pretty good crowd for a Sunday. And the manager, she gives me a smile. Piano, it sounds like a carnival. And the microphone, it smells like a beer. And they sit in the bar and put bread in my jar. We're all in the mood for a melody. And you've got us feeling alright. The piano dies away. We welcome once again to another JV from live from the Steinway room. It must be about show 118 or 119.
Something like
Coming
that.
up to 3 years. Don't forget the award we won, which was the Smash the Piano Award. No, that was from Chloe. There we are, Chloe, that's yours.
Fortunately, it's
still in one
indestructible.
Piece. I know. It's a little bit egocentric though, don't you think?
It's lovely.
I mean, I think my ego doesn't need any more help, all right? Anyway, people, it's lovely to be with you again. I'm taking this off. We had a show last night in Guildford, and we thank all of you who turned up. And is that all right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a good shot without giving
Darling,
the rest
you
of the
always
room.
take a good shot, my
Without
love.
giving out the rest of the room. That's what I'm doing.
Listen, you always take a good shot. There she is.
Don't start.
There she is. Okay, there she is. Look, there she is.
Oh dear.
Susan Veira Sullivan, but pictures by
Jonathan Veira.
Some massive photographer.
Jonathan Veira.
No, it was moi. Right? So if any of you need any pictures taken, weddings, bar mitzvahs, I'm up. for anything you've got. Now,
has to be centre of attention. Now this is a big happy birthday for Chloe's mum. She loves this one. So happy birthday, Mrs. Chloe.
You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said. Boy, you got a friend in me. 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 You got troubles, well I've got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together and we'll see it through, 'cause you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Some other folks might be a little smarter than I am. I'm bigger and stronger too, maybe. But none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Just that, really. And normally we would sing When You're Tired and Troubled, the one for the community, the one that you recorded, all of you. So on those lovely albums. Well, I decided that I wanted to do something kind of different, and I wanted to try. I haven't done Summertime for so long, and I said to Sue, is it me, or is it just that it's so cold? It's always so cold. Now, it's heated up today, ironically, and it's around 10 degrees. But I haven't remembered, and it's just, I'm trying to work out whether it's just me.
It's just
or
you.
do you feel cold out there? Do you feel particularly cold? Or is it just because we're aware of the cost of everything? And I know all of you are kind of going, and we've got one of those incredible meters that tells you you've just spent 3 pence. You know, one of those, you turned round and you've put another £1 on, and before you know where you are, you've literally spent 5 quid. So today, this is the first time we've put them on for our guests who are sitting right here. Right, so
what,
they can
the
be warm.
lights and the
Not
heating?
the lights. No, the heating.
The heating.
Yeah, we've done that for them. And I just want some summertime. I was out in the garden this morning, and I just thought, I need some warmth. I need to have a T-shirt on. I need to have a little bit of warmth on the skin. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of warmth again? It feels such a long time. And we'll do this one because Gershwin, it just brings back happy memories of me in the Royal Albert Hall. We did this. Do you remember this one? When I had to do Summertime live at the Proms, it was Jake.
It wasn't your piece to sing, was it?
No. Well, as they told me when I turned up, this is a bit of inverted racism. I turned up for a rehearsal. I don't care who knows now. Then it was a bit of a thing we had to be very careful. But I turned up to the rehearsal in the London studios, and it was for the Prom. And the guys said to me, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, I've been asked to do Jake, the part of Jake in thing." Now, in the score, it specifies that it must be a Negro cast. Okay, that's what it says. So I turned up, and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What do you mean? I've been asked to come here by the agent." You know, he said, "You've got to be black to be here." And I went, "What?" And of course, they couldn't find anybody else to do it, so I had to do it. And I was their honorary. He said, "But you're Asian." That was his comment to me.
The thing is, he doesn't know what he is.
No, I have no idea. And those of you who saw me last night, you know I have no idea who I am. And I said, "Well, I've got African in me. My great-great-grandmother was it great-man or great-grandmother? Great-grandmother." So anyway, I went and did this. And I remember it was Wayne Marshall was conducting and playing the piano. And it was absolutely a superb event. Absolutely packed solid live event from the BBC Proms at the Royal Albert Hall. And this song I always like to sing. It's usually sung by a woman, of course. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your mom's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing, for you spread your wings and take to the sky. Don't you That's called an Insta arrangement. Forgotten that one.
As David Hicks said, you'll have us all dreaming of summer, balmy summers, and we'll be dozing off.
I'm going to do. So, what was I going to ask you? Now I've forgotten what I was going to ask you.
Idea.
Is it age? I think it was the knock on my head, darling, that you gave me when you kicked me out of bed. I don't want that legend to grow, obviously. I'm not accusing her of anything, but I think, you're giving me a kidney, love.
It's all right. I know that my friends are on my side.
Now, I know that our guests listened to this one yesterday, and it finished them off, I quote.
Oh, dear. You want to have them all soggy before you start?
That. So, they need to go to the toilet, they can go to the toilet. I'm not going to stop them, please. It's not appropriate. And I'm going to just, when do you want to do the notices? Because I think actually I'd like to really get into this story because it's so fascinating. I don't want anybody getting up to go and make a cup of tea. Is that clear?
If you want a cup of tea, go and do it now whilst Jonathan's singing, all right?
Just put your bag on and just do what you've got to do, okay? Because this is a story that you are going to want to hear, and it's so vast in its implications, and actually the people that we get into this room, we get in because they have a story to tell. And this is a story and some. And they're answering the call to just, I'm going to use the word minister. Those of you who are not Christian, you understand what I mean. There's a minister for agriculture and fish, and he ministers unto those who want agriculture and fish. I've really got myself into a deep...
Say, would you like to stick yourself
can
out
you help me out
more?
here, Sue? Don't just leave me, dangling there. But they minister. They go out and they talk in prisons, they talk in churches, they talk in groups, they talk wherever. Actually, people invite them to talk about how this incredible event that you're about to hear impacted their lives. And we are truly privileged to have them in this little room here, this little 14 by 12 room that we're opening for tours very soon.
The vast Steinway room.
Vast. But before we do, I'll see whether, having done such a beautiful concert, it was a lovely concert in Guildford, wasn't it, last night? A nice return after many, many years of not doing it at St Saviour's. And it was lovely.
It was a great concert, and a number of people are talking about it on here, which is lovely. And new people have joined us as a result.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which is great.
It's lovely. There was a lady sitting on the front row.
Yeah, Betty. She's just written in.
Fantastic. So many new people. And this is as it happens. And, we're just chat with friends, basically. That's what we do on a Sunday night for 2 hours. We started it nearly 3 years ago, or come April. And we just keep going until there's only one person left, and then we won't be broadcasting anymore. Then we'll start watching Search the Midwife again, and whatever you do with the midwife, I can't remember, but Hunt the Midwife, whatever, one of those. And so I'm just going to sing this song, and then we're going to get people in, and so you do what you want and we'll be punctuating it with songs and stuff like that. Is all right? So let's see if I can sing this one. As it was before we recorded it, in that magnificent arrangement by Mark and myself a little bit, but him mainly. That beautiful orchestral arrangement, and this is Bring Him Home. God on high, hear my prayer. In my need, you have always been there. He's young, he's afraid. Let him rest, heaven blessed. Bring him home, bring him He's like the son I might have known. If God had granted me a son, the summers die one by one, how soon they fly. On and on, and I am old and will be gone. young. He is only a boy. You can take, you can give. Let him be. Let him live. If I die, let me die. Let him live. Bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him Sue, bring on the video, will you, lovey? Let's have the video. Introducing you, and then we're going to go straight into talking to our wonderful guests.
It's a miracle we're still here. Denise was a teacher, and back in 2008, my work as an engineer took us on assignment to Texas. If you told us then that we were both going to be horribly injured in a road accident and that we'd both lose our left legs above the knee, we would have been absolutely convinced that we could not have coped. We're Chris and Denise Arthey, and we're excited that our book is finally here, Highway 35.
In our book, we tried to be open and honest about the accident, our life-changing injuries, and coping with disability. We've also reflected on the things that helped us survive and put our lives back together again. Things like the amazing support we received from family, friends, neighbours, and our church. The importance of making good choices every day, and particularly the decision to persevere. The gritty and difficult subject of forgiveness, and of course the central role our faith played.
We wrote this book because we know that life doesn't always go to plan. There are bumps in the road, some worse than others, and some a lot worse than ours. But whatever you're facing, it's our prayer that Highway 35 will help you to meet disaster head-on with hope.
Second. Well, we're back. That was by way of introduction. Thank you for that, sending us that video. Actually, in a way, it kind of it just says welcome to you both here, to Chris and Denise, and it comes. I was just informed actually that he's a French. Would you like us just to speak in French now? Would that be easier?
No.
No. Oh, that's a real disappointment, isn't it? I was just going to so no French then. Okay. So how many generations ago was that then, guys?
Well, apparently the Dukes of Artois helped William the Conqueror in 1066.
Some of us still remember.
And as a reward, parts of East Anglia were given to the Dukes of Artois.
So which part of East Anglia have you got? Is it the bad part or the good part?
Well, it's sort of Suffolk borders.
Suffolk.
And then Artois became Darcy and D'Artois and Arthey eventually.
Darcy.
So
And
there are a few Artheys up in East Anglia now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So which part of East Anglia do you own? I mean, are you talking about... I'm just
all of
interested. As long as it's not... what's that awful place that we go to? The Butlins place. Oh, what is it up there? You don't own that, do you?
Skegness.
You don't own Skegness, do you? Because is that what was given you by your ancestors?
That's a bit further north.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, that's right. That's true. Anyway, welcome to
Thank you.
to JV Life in the Steinway room. Hello, Denise. It's nice to see you. Are you well?
Yes, thank you.
It's so good to see you. You came to the concert last night, and it was so good to introduce people in the concert to you both. And I remarked to Sue, you're a lovely, good-looking couple, aren't you? You're very look at you. I mean, and it's so lovely to have you here. But boy, have you got a story to tell? And it's just, but before you do, oh, have I lost my paper? I bet I've lost it. Yeah,
He's lost it. So
I've lost it. Did you ever have?
Can-
Here's my question. Go on. What do you want to ask?
No, I just want. I thought you weren't going to do that bit, but if
Oh,
you're
all
going
right.
to-
She doesn't want me to do that bit. I was just going to ask nonsense questions, but in fact, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Can I just say
What?
Also, how we know you guys is because our children play in a band together, don't they?
They do. They're a function band.
Yes, our our eldest Ben, with your sons Matt and Nick, they are the Wildermen.
The Wildermen.
Yeah.
The three of them.
Yeah.
And at various times with my son Daniel, who subs
Right.
for your son Ben. And I didn't. Can I just say, I had no idea. You dropped round. You sent us an invitation to an event you were doing in Godalming, which is where you live. No specifics, but just that's the town you live in. And I happened to be president of the Choral Society in Godalming, which is why you kindly sent me an invitation. And we were looking after grandchildren that day, so we couldn't do it. And I just said to Sue, do you know what? I think this is a very interesting. This is the kind of story. I had no idea where you came, but the story sounded dramatic and really worth sharing on this community. And it looked like you had a story to tell. So I couldn't wait to get you in. And then we found out that we knew you. And yesterday we found out everybody knew you apart from us. So we feel out of the loop.
Lots of mutual friends,
All right?
which is lovely.
So talk to us a little bit. You were both, you met at university. Would that be fair to say? That's the...
Yes. It's
Where did you go?
we were both at Birmingham, and we met 50 years ago this October, wasn't it? And
50 years ago.
yes, yeah, we went to university when we were 3.
That's good.
We actually met because Chris's brother
Yes.
came round because I went to a Baptist church and
Yes.
all my,
I'm
all
so
the
sorry.
names had gone up, to university.
Yes.
So he was the BAPSOC chairman, wasn't he? So he came round to visit me, and unbeknownst to me, he then went round to Chris's room and said, "Oh, there's a girl in Wishington. You ought to go and see her." And that's how we met.
Now, actually, can I just ask? You said something there. The BAPSOC, and I didn't. At my university, we didn't have a BAPSOC. I wish you'd have a BAPSOC, a Baptist Society. We didn't have one of those. So you had a Baptist Society.
Yep.
So that was in addition to the Christian Union.
Yes.
So what happened? Did you go to the BAPSOC rather than the CEU? And other
Unfortunately,
acronyms?
yes.
Oh, you did? Oh, right.
No, I went to a few of the, CU events, but yes, no, it was a very small, select little BAPSOC.
BAPSOC. It's a
Where matches were made in heaven, clearly.
clearly yes. And you met there, and you were studying geography, and you were studying
Engineering.
engineering. And what did you do? Did you then got together quickly? I mean, what happened?
Yes, we
Go on,
dated.
go for it,
We
Denise.
dated for a little while, and then we drifted apart.
Oh.
And then we dated again at the end of the second year.
Oh, right, which is what? Yes, it is happening. What was there? Somebody more interesting? What's wrong with you? For goodness' sake,
You're clearly on a roll, Denise.
You're on a
He
roll,
wants
Denise.
you
I
to
think
continue.
this is your gig, okay?
I think it was me, really. I think I just thought, well, he'd been out with lots of girls, and I think I'd been out with one bloke before, so it was a bit sort of, I think this is, I need to do my studies.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I was very boring,
Yeah.
yes.
I was out marching, political marches. And I know I just did music and a bit of English, but the idea of everybody working really hard, I think that's now. So you worked hard,
I
didn't
worked
you?
very hard.
You worked
I
hard.
worked
Did
very
you work
hard.
hard?
Yeah, we both.
All right, so
we
I
both
was the
worked
only
very
one then. I
hard.
think
You're the only one.
we're
Yeah,
fairly
yeah.
clear that I was the only one who didn't work very hard. They were interesting times because you're slightly older than I am, and but not a lot. And we had the Christian life was a very defined thing within university, Christian Union, or BAPSOC. I'm going back to university just to find if there's a BAPSOC.
Well, apparently there are also meth socks and cath socks.
Who?
Methodist
Cath socks?
societies.
What's cath?
Cath socks.
Oh, cath socks. Oh,
Catholic
Catholic
Society,
Society.
yes. Oh, and Gareth Hiller said, and woolly socks. There's always one,
Yes,
isn't
thank
there?
you.
There's always
He's
one.
a Methodist minister. You have to forgive him. So fairly. Oh no, Dolly,
Broken.
the piano.
Oh.
The piano's just broken.
That's
I can't even show you.
I can't show you.
You can't show. No, don't.
I can't show you.
I don't even know it's disappeared to. It's gone.
I think it's on the floor, love.
Here. That. A key. That was ivory.
That's because you hit it too hard, clearly.
Oh dear. Anyway, we're in the middle of a very important discussion, and you're breaking my keys. What have you done? So.
Right, moving
I'll put
on.
that there. So you come away from Birmingham. You go and teach. What do you do after this?
Yeah, I went as an engineer in the oil and gas business.
And into to Shell or to BP or
It was actually Esso.
Esso?
Yeah.
Okay. And so actually it's quite interesting times for you looking around at it now, isn't it? Have you retired now? Have you finished that?
Yes, I finished 7 years ago after 40 years in the
40
oil and
years?
gas. Yeah.
It was a bit of an industry, wasn't it, for you? Because you've had 3 children, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, we've got 2 boys,
2 boys and a
Ben
girl.
and Tom, and then a girl, Miriam.
Miriam, yeah. And so actually, but that meant a lot of time you were away, or did you travel together? What happened?
Most of my career, we actually managed to move together. So so we had a few years in the New Forest, and then
That's nice.
a couple of years in the Shetland Islands.
Oh,
Even
that's
nicer.
nice. Yeah,
And,
very nice.
And then we moved south to the Guildford area, almost the same time that you
So
did.
a year after. Was it a year after?
Yeah, you were 87, we were 88. And this has been our home base since then.
But you shifted around then. So
But during that time, we had 5 years in America and 3 years in the Middle East. Yeah.
Do you regret not working anymore? Are you happy not to?
It was quite a shock retiring.
Yeah.
Because we retired from the Middle East. It would have been really nice
Really?
to phase down, like do 3 days a week, but I was like running a team, working the projects in the Middle East, like all the hours.
So you were project manager, was that?
Yes, yeah. And then we retired and came home, and the next day we were sitting in this cottage which was cold because the heating hadn't come on and our furniture hadn't arrived.
No.
And there was just the 2 of us looking at each other saying, Lord, what have we done?
Yeah.
And it took a little while to recover from that, but you go and have a lie down and it soon passes.
Well, I think you're a very positive person, Chris. I mean, having Sue read the book and she gleaned a lot of information. I read a lot about you rather than read the book. And I have to say that you come across, both of you, as being a very can-do couple. Because, well, that's if I'm wrong, tell me. But I think actually you are very positive. You move forward. You don't tend to, sit for too long.
You always have a choice.
And that's interesting. And what does that mean for you?
I think we really discovered that a lot recovering, because the first thing we used to see was the wheelchair beside the bed. And that's the first choice of the day. You've got to get up, get in the wheelchair, start moving around. And we found that, each day was just a series of choices. And if you make enough good choices, you get a good day. Enough good days, you get a good week. And if you carry on like that, you can build a good life again.
You seem to be,
Wow.
that is very, very telling. I know very many people out there right now could really do with hearing that, and I could do with hearing that as well. As you know, I told you, as a depressive by nature, you have to make a choice, and I have terrible feet. And one of those things is I used to say to you, right, I've just got to get my feet out of the bed, and I've got to move forward. And then the receptors on the bottom of the feet become less painful as you move. But that first initial move is a choice. And actually, you seem like, are you the pragmatic one? Are you the emotional one? Or is that you both the same?
No.
Right. Right, over to you.
We were
you,
talking
Chris.
about this earlier today because Denise is a woman of steel and not very emotional. And at the concert last night,
Yes.
and you were singing, and which one was it? Yeah, you raised me up, and I was enjoying it, but I could sense this vibe coming off Denise, and I thought. And Denise was just holding it together, and I thought that is really unusual because it takes a lot to get Denise that close. And then, of course, you sang "Bring Him Home," and that was
That was it. She wasn't holding it
that was the
together anymore.
finishing punch.
Can I ask you though? I mean, that's just interesting for me. This is very self-indulgent, but what is it? I've lived my whole life as a singer and a performer for 40 years. And I've never known what exactly it is that people respond to. I never realised I had a voice. I never realised, and when people do, I go, "Oh gosh, they're emoting, or they're laughing, or they're crying, or they're whatever they're feeling." What is it that made you feel like that?
Well, it's obviously an amazing song. Sorry,
Yes.
Jonathan.
No, it is.
It's an amazing song.
Yeah.
I mean, one, it's the quality of your voice, but two, it's the emotion that you put into it. And I think it's been a long time since I've heard something, which just touches the soul, and you just, you just swell up. And so that's what happened last night. But
Well, that's
no,
lovely.
I'm the one who, I think I cried twice
During
from
this
the
whole of
accident through to, sort of real recovery.
Sue, just that.
I sort of I resonate with that a bit because that is a bit like me, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
I'm
Very
the
rarely
pragmatic one. I'm the one that just says this has got to happen. I mean, Chris, you came up to me last night and said, "Oh, you're so brave doing the transplant," but actually, for me, it was a logical thing to do. It was he needs a kidney. I've got two. One might be good for him. So I don't think bravery ever really came into it for me. So I understand this sort of. You just get on with it in a way. But both are right. There's no right way to be. It's just different people.
Well, it's a
have different ways of dealing with it.
complementarian kind of approach,
Yeah.
isn't it? Where you get married, really, and you complement each other, hopefully. If you're both the same, it's a disaster. I mean, I know people who are like me who would be disastrous if I married them. I mean, we'd never get anywhere. I'd be sitting in the back crying into my... And Sue knew... when I was ill, when I was depressed, how she couldn't help me, how I had to find my own way or find the way with the help of solitude or quietness or whatever it was that. Now, take us. This story is a great story, and I want you to kind of take us to the point. You've done well in your career. You've done very well in your career. You're project managing. Were you working at the same time?
Yes, I was doing a mixture of teaching,
Geography.
Supply teach. No, little ones actually.
Oh, littlies. All right.
In a local infant school, and I was doing like teaching supply, special needs, and then anything in that school.
That you just and where were you, locally or
Yes, locally. Yeah.
And so you were finding fulfillment in that role.
Oh, absolutely. Classroom is
That's where
That's
you
where
come
I'm meant
life.
to be. Yeah.
You're like a very gentle soul, and I imagine with littlies, which we love as well. I love littlies. I worked in the children's nursery, 2 to 5 year olds when I left university. Sue found me the job because she was in a job centre, and I just love being with them and that openness and unself-conscious thing, and just. And they still sing, and they still want to be and make up things.
Well,
and
they're
not
enthusiastic,
self-conscious.
aren't
Yes,
they?
are.
And I actually like the sort of 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Years 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. It's Poppy's age. Still, awe and wonder is a fantastic thing, isn't it, for children of that age? And our grandchildren, they're similar ages, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yours and so you're working there. You're a project manager, and then just take us through your. You finish the job and you're moved to the States. You get the job in the States. Tell us the story.
Well, the company had been keen to move us to the States for career development for some time, and we had said, "Can you hold off until our youngest is at university?"
Yes.
So we dropped Miriam off at university, and 3 weeks later we were on a plane to Houston. So they were very good. They honoured their side of our discussion, and we were really keen to go, because then we'd just become empty nesters, and we just grabbed the adventure with great enthusiasm. And
so how old were you at that stage then?
52. Yeah, 52. So it was career development, an adventure for the two of us.
Yeah.
And we
wide open spaces type of time.
And they always say, if you want to make your children independent, then go overseas, change the locks, and rent the house out. So we thought, well, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And
I remember Garth Hewitt saying that they moved. What they did is they sold the house and moved into a 2-bedroom flat. When literally they went away, the children went away. They came back and they said, "Sorry, we haven't got any room. We've run out of
You're
space."
on your own.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
So you go out there, you get to these wide open Texan spaces, and did you like it out there in Houston?
Yes, it was a brilliant assignment. I should probably say a little bit about motorcycling as well.
Please.
Oh, I think it's all right,
Please
Denise.
do.
Denise, we'll keep him short.
Look, we're motorheads. Come on. Tell me how many valves it's got and everything else. Whether you polish the pipes.
Yeah. Well, I was on a motorbike when I was 16, earliest you can ride, and I've ridden and owned machines of various sizes over the years, and one of the dreams was to ride motorcycle road trips in the States. So this was another reason I was so keen to go to Houston. Denise less keen on the bikes than me, but happy to go along with the adventure. And so it was just a few months after we arrived when we were on our road trip, exploring our surroundings down through southwest Texas, down the Gulf Coast towards the Mexico border and the Rio Grande.
Wow.
On the Harley-Davidson Road King. So
Which is the ultimate.
Is this the one that I have a picture of?
yeah, it's
Chris?
no,
Let's have a-
I
it's
don't
not.
think. I don't think we.
No.
Oh no, that's not.
No,
that's
that's
your
my
bike.
mobility scooter, which
Oh,
I
right,
which I
okay,
ride
fine,
now.
forgive me,
But
I did not know.
so, yeah, that one's also another brilliant machine. But the Harley was, you saw it briefly in the video. It was their 96 cubic inch 1600 cc V twin, 6 forward gears, belt drive. At this point, Denise
Oh,
has
that
stopped.
sort.
Yeah, you see, this is what happens. They go,
Yeah.
okay, and we're going,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
1600 on an engine like on a chassis that size.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was
it's
just-
going to go.
Yeah, great touring machine. So we were living the dream, and then 16th of May 2008, we were on Highway 35, which is a straight 2-laner near Corpus Christi, and
It's one of those roads it's one of those that you see on. They do a lot on American movies where it just goes all the way
to
straight.
the horizon. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
One of those, isn't it?
Yeah, it was one of those beautiful May day, clear blue sky, and everything suddenly changed.
Well, okay. Talk us through it. Talk us through. I don't mind who talks. I mean, I don't, because you were riding the. You were. I mean,
Well, we
as
don't- we-
riding pillion. You. I don't know because I've only ridden bikes. I had motorbikes and motorbikes. Sue calls them my little scooters, but
No, they can't be compared, darling. I'm sorry to a Harley Davidson.
Sue, I can dream, my love.
Yes, I know.
And so, but riding pillion is a very different perspective. You see the left and the right, but you don't see what's ahead of you. You see his helmet, I guess.
Yes. Yes, you just peer over one shoulder, really. But we weren't going that fast. I think
How
55 miles
which
per hour.
is standard, wasn't it? Were you allowed to go any faster than that? It was about
Oh, yes, yes.
70 on that. Okay.
But, at 55, you can actually talk, to
Yeah.
a certain degree. So that's what we were
But were
doing.
you on radios?
No.
Oh, you didn't. Okay. So you didn't have radio mics. Okay.
But from what I read in the book, Chris, you're a very safe motorcyclist. You're not someone who just sort of leaps on it and just whizzes off and you just scream round bends and so on. It's something that you take very, very seriously, and safety is paramount for you.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that we had to come to terms with, which I had to come to terms with, which is why me? Because, as you say, Sue, I'd never crashed a machine before in my life. I've been on these safe rider courses with the British Motorcycle Police, where they follow you and then they do a critique on your riding style. I never had a speeding ticket in my life, either on a bike or in a car. I did get a parking ticket once, but we were on our...
You are very good, aren't you?
We were on our honeymoon, so I think I was distracted about the parking ticket. Yeah.
Distracted by the extreme beauty. That's what you've got to say. I'll just tell you that. You need to say those very words. Okay,
So-
if you want to.
So hence the why me question. So bit of a digression, but I have this list of things that Chris does not understand, and this why me, why us question.
Yes.
I mean, why would it happen on the rare occasion when I've got my precious wife on the pillion, which doesn't often happen? So this why me question is pretty much at the top of the list, and when it's my turn to go to the pearly gates, I'm taking that list with me because I want some answers. And then I'll probably toss it away because then it won't matter. But
but
for
while you're
now,
here,
and that's true for all of us. You know, we can't expect to understand everything. And
Because it was completely out of the blue, wasn't it?
That's
the
what
point.
happened. The
It
exact.
was completely out of the blue.
If you want to tell us, then it makes sense for people to understand.
Well, we don't either of us have any recollection of the accident, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But there was a reconstruction just over a year later in a small town Texas courtroom, and apparently it went something like this. I was, as Denise said, 55 miles an hour, Denise on the pillion, 70 mile an hour limit, and a young driver in a Ford F-150 truck came up behind us, and 55 wasn't quite fast enough for him. So he overtook us safely to the left because we're on the right-hand side of the road in the States. So he just completed his overtaking maneuver, and now I'm looking at the back of a sizable Ford truck.
Yeah.
And he noticed a red vehicle, a red SUV, coming at him at high speed on the wrong side of the road. So he's thinking, is he on the phone? Is he asleep at the wheel?
Yeah.
Is he going to correct back into his own lane?
Yeah.
No, he's not. So at the last moment, he drove off the road.
Into the dirt track.
There was a grass shoulder beside it. He just drove off the road. So now I can see the red SUV, which is doing over 80 miles an hour. So he's
Heading towards you.
Yeah, he's doing over 80. I'm doing 55.
50, so collected about 130 miles an
Over
hour.
135 miles an hour, which is like 60 meters a second. No time to react, and he hit us virtually head on. Then there was the next car in line was a white Chevrolet truck, and the truck driver behind us hit the brakes and was slowing down. The red vehicle went back on the correct side of the road, then came out again and hit the white truck behind us, almost killed the driver and seriously injured his wife. And so there were almost 5 fatalities.
Was it in the middle of nowhere?
It was a remote location.
So that meant
2:34 p.m. on a weekday afternoon.
So that meant that the first responders
It
were
was
at least an hour away, or was it helicopter?
The first responders always say that the golden hour makes all the difference.
Yeah.
If you can get help, if things go right in that first hour, then the outcomes can be dramatically improved. So that there was a 911 call. The truck driver who drove off the road made the 911 call.
Yes. Yeah.
There were fire crew on scene within minutes.
Really?
Yeah, volunteer fire crew from the local community.
So you weren't that far from the local community. You weren't that far.
We're about 6 miles past Tivoli, so it was a rural area, but there were volunteer fire crew. The police were there within about quarter of an hour. Within 24 minutes, we had 2 ambulances with paramedics, and in less than an hour, we were both on his and hers helicopters to the nearest trauma unit, which happened to be about less than 50 miles away
Wow.
at Corpus Christi.
Right, so you were there within.
So that golden hour ran on rails for us, and that was part of the miracle of our survival, because we were. Well,
you should have been a fatality.
We were both fading fast. Yeah.
Can I just speak to you, Denise? Because I mean, being a motorcyclist, I do understand that, and being a driver as well. But being a motorcyclist, where things are coming towards you, you can see that. You don't have memory of it, and very much like a very stupid comparison. But I have no memory of falling out of bed. I don't remember the process of what happened. All I remember is finding myself on the floor, cut here and bruised there. So the process, I don't remember what happened and how I fell out. What was your perspective?
Well, exactly the same. I mean, I didn't have any memory of being hit at all. The only thing I can remember is two blurry faces standing over me. But they were very worried about me, because apparently Chris was talking, but I wasn't. And they always say they prefer to have a victim who's screaming or,
Yes,
moaning or something.
The pain is.
But I was saying nothing. So.
And did they? Why was that? Was that because you just were in shock?
I would think so. I tend to faint easily anyway, so I was probably just out of it.
Yeah.
But I do have this image now, whether it was on the helicopter or when we landed at the hospital, I don't know, of just these blurry faces, asking me questions, but that's all I've got.
It must have been deeply shocking, because accidents are very strange things, aren't they? When they happen to you, when something like this happens to you, you go into what I call an automatic mode. It's off script. It's off script because you're not expecting anything to happen apart from you drive from here to there, and then you'll go home and you'll have the rest of your life, and you'll have dinner and blah blah blah, and then suddenly something turns left. We always say about this, don't we, Sue? That accidents mean, and where we've had incidents, you go off script completely from your normal pattern, and then you don't know if you are conscious of it at all. It's a dream world. It's a world of. But were you unconscious at that time? You were completely unconscious.
Yes, I was. Very badly injured, and they put me in a medically induced coma because I had brain trauma as well as internal injuries, and they just wanted to keep me still. So they brought me out of a coma 11, 12 days later to find I had one leg and a wife with one leg.
Immediate response? But both of you, what was your immediate response?
Well, I was still heavily medicated, and took some time to just figure out what was going on. And there was a lot of pain and confusion as well.
It was different for you, Denise, wasn't it? Because there was a more of an awareness of what was happening, and you were in a situation of decision making that was very hard for you.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I can remember coming round in hospital and just, looking at these flat bedclothes and, obviously realising, I don't know if they tell you when you're sort of, coming round, but I knew I'd lost my leg. Obviously, I couldn't see it. But yes, there were lots of decisions. I mean, we weren't even in England. We were in a different country, and you've got medical insurance, and people kept coming to ask me about, you need to pay for this and you need to pay for that. And
really? During?
Probably in the first, we were only in that hospital for a month, so it must have been like week 3, something like that, or I don't know. But
was it as cold as that? Were they cold?
No, they weren't cold. But, I think because I was so shaky, I mean, I was on morphine and everything, it just, to me, I think it says in the book, I was just so relieved when this woman walked away, because I couldn't, I spoke to Chris's manager, who, bless him, he just said, that's very wise, just wait till you can, you can understand it all. And, because I didn't know how much we were supposed to pay anyway. I didn't know about copay at that stage.
No.
Yes, there were a lot of decisions later on as well, when they moved us about, when you get home, you need to have the house modifications done. You will need 24-hour nursing care. And I said to the lovely English, would you believe English physio? And I said, Mary, I said, I need, all these modifications.
Tools, yes,
and she said, no, you will be fine, because you're going to go to rehab hospital after this. And I'd already done 2 weeks of rehab.
Yes.
But, you know, the neighbours were fantastic. Chris's brother was fantastic. One of the, the occupational therapists was brilliant. And the neighbour sent in photos of the house, and, you know, and then there was a man in the church, and he was a builder. He built the ramp up to the front door, and he widened the family bathroom doorway, and he put up support rails. Church paid for all the materials, and he gave his labour free of charge. I mean, it was just incredible.
Amazing.
But I was sort of lying in hospital thinking, actually, I just can't cope with this. I can just cope with today.
Yes.
You know, I can't make these decisions, you know. And
It,
you had to make was about my leg.
yes, after 10 days, the doctors came to the youngsters. They'd all flown out.
All the kids, all three of them.
Yes, and I must say they had a 10-hour flight, but not knowing how many parents were going to be alive when they got to the other end. I mean, I'd spoken to Ben on the phone, and yes, and then the doctors were saying they'd obviously spoken a lot to the youngsters and Chris's brother and said, you know, we want to amputate, but Chris isn't in a position to give us the go-ahead.
No.
But the leg is killing him. So
What
Ben-
had happened, from what we understood, it was it become gangrenous,
yes.
and so it had to go. Otherwise, it would affect the rest of you. Well, it would kill you.
Yes.
Sepsis and all the rest of it.
Yes, and he said if we don't amputate, and even if Chris survives all that, you know, there'll be lots and lots of surgeries. He may never walk properly again, you know. So Ben was 25 at the time.
Oh my goodness.
So Ben and I signed for Chris's amputation. And I did actually say to the orthopedic surgeon, you take his leg away, you give him a prosthetic blade, he'll run a marathon.
so you knew your husband.
Yes. I knew how determined Chris would be to get running again. Yeah.
But actually, presumably, if he had carried on with a severely injured leg, the prospect of him being as active as he'd been before...
Well, couldn't have done it.
Wouldn't have
I suppose it would have
happened,
killed
would
you
it?
anyway.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't have been a possibility.
No.
So, and I remember all three youngsters bounding into my ward, you know, when they'd seen Chris after the amputation, just saying, "Oh, Dad's back," you know, because his colour had returned,
Yes.
and you know he was
Yes.
obviously they brought him out of the coma.
Yes, and the toxins weren't killing him anymore.
No, and that really was, I mean, you know, the start of the recovery. The brain was a different matter, but
Oh
the
yeah, we'll
physically,
talk about that because
yeah.
I think I just want one question. I'm going to sing a song just to kind of. This is heavy stuff, and
is.
And when you tell your story, and we're going to stick with it. We're going to stick with it because I want people to hear. It's about fortitude. It's about decisions, and it goes back to what you were saying right at the beginning of the program: choices that you make. And for those people, and I know there are people that will watch this again. I know who are in severe pain right now and who are in being treated for all kinds of illnesses. And I'm thinking, and severe cancer and things like that, and they're having treatments. And just actually the determination to get up, making choices. And I think that's one of the takeaways immediately that that was really helpful actually to say. But I want to ask you, Chris, you wake up and you find that you have it's your left leg, isn't it? As you both lost your left leg, I would imagine. When it hit you, I imagine it hit you on the side.
The front and down the left-hand side of the
So
bike,
that's what
yeah.
you took.
So that was
you
your
took
that's
skill.
That's why our arms were broken, and I had broken ribs, punctured lung on
Yes.
that side as well.
But presumably that's your innate skill on the motorbike in that you turned so that it was more of a glancing blow, still at 135 miles an hour. But I can't imagine that you would have survived if it was
Head-on.
really, truly head-on.
No, and it's interesting that people say, well, of course, motorcycles so unsafe. But if we'd been in a car, it would have been an absolute head-on with that combined speed, and everybody would have died. Because we were on a bike, there was just enough time to move enough to the right to make it a glancing blow. And because we were on a bike, we survived. Now, I'm not saying that motorcycles are safer than cars. They're not. They're clearly more dangerous. But it was part of the miracle in our case that we were on a bike, and it was just enough, like half an inch difference, and one or both of us wouldn't have made it.
Oh,
I was saying,
Shocking.
so you wake up, you find the leg not there. what's your first impression?
Well, it wasn't as if I woke up and here I am fully compos mentis and, oh my goodness, I've only got one leg. By the time I had really come round enough to understand that I had one leg and a wife with one leg, and that that they were both above knee amputations rather than below knee amputations, and how much more difficult it is to live with an above knee amputation, because we had no idea. By the time all that had sunk in, a lot of days had passed. So I didn't come round. I mean, to start with, after the coma, because of not just the medication but the brain trauma, I couldn't read a clock. I couldn't use a phone.
So cognitive function had gone.
Yeah, they were in therapy. They gave me some children's puzzles to do, and I couldn't do them. So there wasn't a lot happening, and that sort of helps to explain why it wasn't an instant realization of the situation I was in.
No. Let me sing a song, and it's just a kind of an odd song to sing. Maybe I wasn't going to do this one, but I had it on the list, and it's. Should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? And why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches. Yes, I know He watches you and me. Glancing blows. I just had, that shift of a centimetre. That.
Lovely.
So.
Hang on. Let me just find you all back again. I've got to find the. That's it. Oh. There we are. I've got the picture back again.
Sorry. What have you got now?
Nothing. I hit the wrong key. Okay. So there's a lot going on, darling. There's a lot going on. So. What strikes me about the story is that it's for the two of you, it's two individual stories of recovery and digging deep and discovering things about yourself, but it is a joint story as well. Is that true? Have I sort of got that right, that it was a sort of joint but separate journey?
Yeah, well, clearly the accident happened to both of us, but because we're very different people, we coped in different ways, and the injuries were slightly different, and the recovery times were slightly different. But I think probably the biggest difference was in our characters. But we make a good team.
Well, you're an excellent team. I mean, that's the point. You are different, but actually, together you seemed invincible. Really, sort of helped one another over the most extraordinary journey. So, you were in the hospital for how long?
We were in the trauma hospital at Corpus Christi for a month. And there was a lot of speculation about, would Chris need to go somewhere where they could cope with the brain damage, and also I'd already done 2 weeks of therapy. So would I, get any more? Anyway, in the end,
Yes.
they decided to send us near our home in Houston to a rehabilitation hospital. And I was there for 4 weeks. Chris was there for 6 weeks.
And the children had come home by then, I presume.
Yes, they came out for 3 weeks. It was amazing. I mean, Miriam had to defer her exams, bless her, and the boys just took time off work to come out.
But that's a big thing. How did they... I'm trying to imagine my kids responding to this, my 3 boys.
Devastation, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've not talked to... I don't know Ben well enough to have talked about it like this. How did they receive it all?
Yeah, it's very interesting. They were at the time in their lives where they were all going separate ways. I mean, Miriam was at uni. The boys were, living in different places, and all fairly local, but they were going their separate ways. And suddenly they had this trauma that sent them all together. Yes. And Chris's brother was there for a little bit, and the other brother came out for a little bit. No, they were amazing as a team. And actually, that's one of the joys of the book, because we have no memory at the beginning. So all of them, as Sue will know, wrote little snippets about, how they heard the news, what their reactions were. And, and Miriam, bless her, she said the first thing I thought of was, no one will walk me down the aisle, which is exactly how your brain works.
Yes. Yeah. You think about the weirdest things.
Yes. And no, they were amazing. But so were Chris's company, and so were the church, because the pastor came.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yes, he made 4 trips in all.
Because I must also just explain to people out there that both of you are Christian people, and your faith is central, has been central to your life, but certainly as a BAP-SOC member. What SOC were you? Were you just an ordinary everyday?
No, I was BAP-SOC.
You were BAP-SOC as well.
That's why my brother.
I thought you were. Sorry, my not listening to the story.
No.
So you're both okay. So your faith is central to your lives, and so when you talked about your church, you found a church fairly quickly when you were over in the States. And was it a mega church or was it a smaller church?
There was about 150 when we found the church,
quite small, yeah.
And we found the church after a couple of months. So we'd only been in the church 5 months when this happened, and the accident was like 4 hours drive from Houston.
Yeah.
So the response that the church made was quite fin. And the pastor was Pastor Frankie was 30.
Gosh.
Wow.
So really young to be able to cope with this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, our next door neighbours actually, we'd been in the house about 6 months, and they dropped everything, drove to the Houston airport to pick up our 3, drove them down to Corpus Christi, that's 4 hours, spent the night in a hotel and then drove back. I mean, they were amazing. The whole community was utterly amazing. And I think, as I say, the company were great because they sent 2 British couples, or the British couples decided to do it. I don't quite know how it worked. But they went down to the hotel to be with the youngsters. And they did like shifts as well as the pastor. So there's only so much visiting you can do to a father who's in a medically induced coma and a mother who's drifting in and out with morphine. So it was great because they took them swimming, they took them to the theatre, and they just had somebody else that was watching to see, are you okay?
Being parents for them at that time.
Yes,
yeah.
And that was brilliant. No, the kids were youngsters were utterly amazing. I mean, we're so proud of them because you don't want to put your youngsters through that at
Well,
all,
no, you
ever.
don't actually. You don't. It's a horrible thing to have to do. And but actually, in some ways, it enables them to grow up and to realise there are bad things that happen. And when they do, they've got to cope with it somehow, and they find a way. They find a way, or they don't. I mean, and if they don't, then I'm sure they have issues that have arisen because of what happened to you. I know that our kids, it was very difficult for them to watch us go into the operating theatre. So it's a similar thing where they're out of control, and the people that look after them, basically fundamentally, you've always been mummy and daddy, and you'll always sort things out if things go wrong. And suddenly you were not able to do any of that. So I can't. Anyway.
So
Yeah,
in the story,
Thank you.
You were about a month or at the hospital, the trauma hospital.
Yes.
And then you were relocated to the hospital near to where you live. But for me, the story of that journey made my blood run cold.
Well, yes,
it was just awful.
This is dreadful, isn't it? It's just dreadful. Go on, tell us.
Yeah, basically the ambulance that we were on broke down.
Oh,
and
I'm joking.
Well, it was a bad enough journey anyway, because I was on a gurney because I was just out of the coma, and Denise was perched with one leg and an arm in a sling on a side bench.
A bench.
And it was yes, because the insurance would only cover for one ambulance, so they put us both in one ambulance.
Told you.
And then
Can I just this is an advert on
moment.
behalf of the NHS. Okay, all right. Bad though it may be in places. Oh, really? I didn't read that bit. Go on, next. So she's perched on there with
and
one leg and a broken arm.
It was going to be a sort of 4 or 5 hour journey back to the Houston area where the rehab hospital was, and we got sort of 2.5 hours in Edna near Victoria, and there was a loud thump, and the ambulance broke down. So we were in this service area, and then they spent hours trying to find a replacement ambulance, and all
So
the ambulance.
you're in the ambulance all the time. Have you got a nurse or somebody with you?
Well, we had the ambulance driver and another and his colleague, so they had some medical background, but
It's not enough, is it?
well, they did their best, but mobile phones ran out and the water was running out, and fortunately the engine kept running, so the air conditioning was still on, because by now it was June in South Texas.
Oh my
and eventually they found another ambulance, transferred us to that, and Denise. But I just do not know how you survived that journey on the bench. I was uncomfortable enough on the gurney, and by the time we got to the rehab hospital, it was dark. But people from the church were at the doors of the rehab hospital waiting to welcome us, and so it was. It was a bit of a tale, that transfer.
It was.
Take us through the journey towards finding out about the man who's responsible. I'm heading towards a kind of denouement at the end of this, which would be difficult to talk about, but the man who committed the offence.
Yes,
Do you want to talk about him, or would you rather not?
It's fine. No, we we talk about our story a lot because people seem to find it helpful. But the driver of the red vehicle that hit us was over 3 times the drink drive limit. They have the same limit in Texas as we do in the UK, 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood. Limit was 80, he was at 250, which is the equivalent of over half a litre of whiskey. And for further context, he was at 250, and 350 is the equivalent of a general anaesthetic in hospital.
Okay, good.
So he was very drunk, and that's why there was a court case just over a year later. He had pled guilty, and it was a sentencing trial, a jury sentencing trial, where a jury decided what the appropriate punishment would be for what he had done. And after the trial was over and he'd been sentenced, he asked the judge if he could speak with us. And we agreed.
Over to you, Denise.
Okay, over to me. Yes, I mean, he came over, he got tears in his eyes, and he said, I can't give you your legs back. I'm just so very sorry. He was so remorseful. And it was interesting because he's just said, can you ever possibly forgive me? Because that was obviously the big thing for him. And we never felt any bitterness towards him. I mean, it was just a surprise.
It's extraordinary.
Okay, so tell her. So because that to somebody, because this group out there watching, some of them are people without faith. Okay, when people say that, I remember there was a guy, a vicar, who's he was quite a famous vicar, whose daughter was raped. I think. Do you remember? And the news was fascinating. The media knew because they wanted him to say, I'll never forgive him. I can't ever bring it into my heart. And he was it Sat? What was his name? Sat? I can't remember.
I'm sure someone would tell us.
Sawi. Yeah, somebody will come up on the feed. But it was quite shocking how he said it, and they were so shocked. Where's this come from? And he said, well, I'm a Christian now. But was that instinctively what you felt, or did you want to string him up by the
No. I mean,
by the legs himself?
Now, this may not resonate with everyone, but I can remember lying in that bed thinking, my goodness, I'd rather lose a leg than actually have to live with what he's got to live with. Yes. Because it's really hard to forgive yourself if you've made a stupid decision that's impacted someone's life. Well, for good, really,
Yeah.
Yes. So from my point of view, that's the way my brain was. And actually, I was beginning to transition almost to feeling sorry for him because, it's such a huge burden for him to carry.
Yes. Okay, let's hear you, Chris.
We have to be very careful talking about forgiveness because people know we have a faith, and since we were little, we've said, "Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us." And I think, they're Christians. They're just it's the Christian playbook.
Yeah.
But we're not preaching. It wasn't like that at all. We had talked about this before the trial. How do we feel about this? And as Denise said, there honestly was no bitterness, even though we looked hard for it. And we believe that was a gift to us. Yes. Because we had enough on our plates without feeling anger and bitterness, and that gift enabled us to put our energies into recovering. Now, these days, it still happens. We feel that we've been wronged, and we feel that life is not fair.
Right. So it doesn't just go. It's not just. It wasn't once and for all. That's it. We've forgiven him. And
no. So now, if we feel bitterness, or because it happens, we're human. We know that we can pray for that same gift of forgiveness that we got back in Texas, because it made life so much easier for us. No, we're not preaching it. It honestly was a gift, no bitterness.
But also, can I just ask a sort of twofold question here? Firstly, what was the punishment that he received? Because that for me was interesting. But also, Chris, you stood up and you delivered a victim statement to the court, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, in the courtroom, we had a support team came down for the trial, which included some people from the church and our young pastor, and we prayed while the jury was deliberating that they would come to a wise decision.
Yes.
And the district attorney who was prosecuting it was State of Texas versus the drunk driver, and he was convinced that the driver was going to go to the state penitentiary for 5 to 7 years.
Oh, right.
Anyway, the jury returned and gave him 10 years probation, which was
Well,
Terrible
it's
shock.
so shocking, isn't it?
which was a shock to all of us. Now, the judge had discretion to add things to that sentence. So he added 4 months in the county jail, which is a lot different from the state penitentiary. So he had 90 Alcoholics Anonymous sessions and 200 hours community service. So there were other things as well as but the main sentence was the 10-year probation. And I guess we were all surprised, but given what we'd prayed beforehand, it's a bit rich to turn around and say, "Oh God, you got this one wrong." And our pastor said, "Just let it settle. Don't trawl over it. It is what it is." When we did our best to leave it at that. And interestingly, after the book was written, last October, we went back to Texas, and we actually met the trial judge and spent some time with him and his wife. He's retired now, and we were reflecting on this 10 years probation. And the judge was saying, he said, I wasn't worried about you in that trial. He said, I thought you would be okay. Chris and Denise would be all right. He said, but I was really concerned for this driver who was 58 when the accident happened. But because he was remorseful, I thought there was hope. And we all sat round and said, actually, the jury decision, there was wisdom there, because if he'd gone to the state penitentiary, he probably never would have come out. So it was wise.
But I think we also thought that, it's one thing to forgive, but we need to do something. So we went to visit him when he was in prison. And he was very shocked because they obviously told him there's an English couple who want to see you. And it took him a long time to work out who we were. So we went to see him then. And just before we left at the end of 2012, when we left for the Middle East, he asked if he could see us again. So we had another lunch. Well, we had a lunch with him and his wife. And, he was a very troubled soul still at that stage. And, he asked if we, again, he was asking, have you really forgiven me? And we said, yes, we really, as far as we're concerned, you're forgiven. In 2019, which was after his probation finished, he wrote us a really lovely email and just thanked us for our kindness and support. Because he said it just helped me to cope emotionally over the years. He's since remarried. And when, Chris just said we went back to Texas, we met up again. Yes, for a meal. And it was just, they were just such easy company. And he looked very different, and we had a hug. And, and he really surprised us, because at the end of the meal, he said, next time you're in Texas, come and stay in our house. And you just think, what a remarkable journey of forgiveness.
Yes.
Look what it's produced.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, we're free.
Yes.
And we had the feeling he was free now, really free, as a person.
That is, it's a remarkable.
It's extraordinary.
Kendall, R.T. Kendall wrote a book called Forgiveness, and it was at the time when people found it, and it struck me at the time, and I had a particular experience of somebody coming up to me, literally saying to me, out of nowhere, I just appeared at a big concert, thousands of people, and he came up to me and he said, Jonathan, I don't know what I'm saying to you, but you must forgive. And I went, literally out of the blue, like we were crossing, I was leaving the building, and he just said, you must forgive. He said, I don't know why I'm meant to say this to you, but I'm just saying that you must forgive. Well, it was the most profound at that moment, and I just said, I asked various questions that I can't talk about here, but it was from that, and I walked out in the car, and it struck me that the value of forgiveness is so extraordinary, because it is in the Christian gospel terms, it is the thing. It is the thing that forgiveness is one of the central points, that God forgives our sins. He forgives us. Jesus, he dies so that our sins might be forgiven. That's it. So it's central to our belief. But we never, until something like this happens to you, and you're called on to truly forgive. I mean, it strikes me that you people are you've been touched by God in a way. I think being given, you all called it a gift. That's what forgiveness is a gift, isn't it? The ability to be able to do that. Hold on, I've got to take my tablets.
You've got to take your tablets.
I'll take my tablet.
I
You
think,
carry on with this. This
I
is
think
quite remarkable.
The experience of that kind of forgiveness, it's not just I've forgiven him, that's it, but it's an ongoing process, isn't it? That's what you were referring to, that, there are times when something else surfaces that you think, oh, if only this hadn't happened and, he hadn't taken the drink and so on. But actually, God helps you to forgive on that occasion as well, and on that occasion. So it's an ongoing process, isn't it? It's not a once and for all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in reading your book, I mean, there's just so much in it, and I know that people will want to get the book and will want to be able to read the story and to trace all the sort of amazing things, the amazing experiences that you had. The thing that really struck me was you did refer to it, the sort of where the support came from, and the fact that it was actually several places, that it wasn't just one person or one area, but actually, I think you called it the blocks in your life.
Or the anchors.
Yes, something like that. Yes. The fact that the church was right behind you, and they were there for you, your neighbours, family. That community was so important, and I know that's something that resonates with a lot of people in the JV community. That it's the fact that everyone supports each other, and that without that we struggle to continue. And there's so much about your story that I would have found very difficult to manage, and sort of as someone who's always sort of lived with the National Health Service, the idea of coping with the sort of the system over there of piles of paper and everything else that you have to deal with, and all these applications and so on, and people coming up to you and saying, could you just do this and could you just do that? How did you find your way through that maze when you were British and that wasn't something that you were used to?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that we were extremely fortunate in that being expats with a major company.
Yes.
We had top drawer medical insurance, and although it was stressful and there was a lot of administration, which we had to work through with a little help from our friends, a lot of help from our friends, it was a lot different for us because we had the medical insurance. I think the emergency response trauma care was probably comparable between the US and the UK. The NHS, they do what they can with resources, and once your life has been saved, they do their best with those resources to make sure that you can put it back together again. I think in the States, if you've got good medical insurance, you're good. Probably better than you would be with the NHS, because medical insurance is expensive. If you don't have medical insurance, I don't know what would have become of us.
85 million people in the States do not have either any or adequate medical insurance. I was just reading about it the other day.
Yeah, so it's just a very different system, and we were very, very fortunate indeed. Our medical bills came to over $500,000 by the time it was all over, and we didn't have to pay that.
Thank the Lord. And there was no extra bit you had to pay, no excess.
Well, there was the copay, but because I was an expat with a major company, I was able to put all the paperwork together and get the copay back again. So it was very fortunate.
Let me sing a song, and then I want to pull the interview to a kind of a now situation, because I do think people want to know. They often, when we were younger, I was part of the Brethren, we loved a dramatic story We like to, and there's a story of daring do, missionaries being hung, drawn, quartered, and yet it was all fine. And then they preached the gospel as they were. It was all that kind of thing. And the more dramatic it was. But in fact, we end up saying that there are real life implications for what's gone on with the loss of your limbs. And as you say, it's not plain sailing. With my illnesses, it never has been. It's not. It still isn't. Some days it's good and some days it's bad, and sometimes the head is good and some days the head is bad, and the implications are far-reaching. And I want to kind of take us through towards the back end of that. But one of the things that, as I was trying to work out what to sing, we have a song. We have an album that we did called Moments, which was the second lockdown session album, and it's one of the favourites of the community. This song. And it reads like this: these are the moments that we love so well, precious moments caught within a spell. All too soon our lives, they fade away. These are the moments that we wish would stay. If I had my life to live again, I would choose to be with you, my friend. Time moves slowly, yet it goes so fast, and who knows how long our days will last. So cherish deep within you the love you get today. Let the moment linger, for tomorrow steals that away. And I think actually this, taking the moment, every moment, and we try to say this post-operationally, we try to say, and I say this to people out there with all the love in my heart as I minister to you week after week and year after year, that we take the moment is now. The Bible is very interesting about time, it talks a lot about time, but it says now is the day of salvation, now is the time of the Lord. And it's this idea that, often in churches we do preparation for evangelism, with preparation for this, and wait until we're ready, and then when we're ready we're going to do it. And the Bible tends to say it's now, today, right now, here, where we are, with the Artheys here. And actually, they've shared their story with you, and I hope what this is doing is it's encouraging your own soul to see them right here, talking honestly about where they are, and that life isn't a bowl of cherries. Most of us, it's not a bowl of cherries. It's not even a bowl of strawberries. It's not even a bag of cashew nuts. Sometimes it's awful, but actually, what happens is what you do, and it's that choice. I'm going to keep coming back to that. You get out of bed, and today's going to be a good day. We've met these people, and I just know actually this will not be the last time we meet you. There's something about you which is real. It's touching. It's kind of it not only because you're in my choir too, but because I have to see you again, don't I? No choice. But it's just a lovely song written by Bryn Howarth about living and dying and enjoying the moment. That we love so well, precious moments caught within a spell. All too soon our lives, they fade away. These are the moments that we wish would stay. If I had my life to live again, I would choose to be with you, my friend. Time moves slowly and it goes so fast, and who knows how long the days will last. Cherish deep within you the love you get today. Let the moments linger, for tomorrow steals that away. Tomorrow steals that away. are the memories that we made so well. Lives like stories that we long to tell. When we're old with not too much to say, we'll have the memories that we made today. We'll have the memories that we made today. Cherish deep within you. Live the moment. You came back from this extraordinary event, came back here. What was the first thing you did when you got back?
Well, the first project was to have a go at Kilimanjaro.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Kilimanjaro
Yeah, so
with one leg and a prosthetic.
yes, yeah.
I hope you didn't hop all the way up there. That wouldn't have been good. Would it?
I did. I used a prosthetic leg. I
Oh, my
actually
goodness.
used my running leg because the walking leg, the legs that we're wearing this evening, the walking legs.
Oh right,
they
I
are,
didn't know they were.
Lots
yeah,
of different legs.
they have microprocessor controlled knees, which means you have to charge them up. So our routine when we go to bed at night is we put the phones on charge, put the legs on charge, go to bed. But of course, there's
There's
no
a gag in there somewhere.
I can see you working on it already. But there's nowhere to plug the leg in up Kilimanjaro, so I took the running leg, and it worked all right. So when we got back to the UK, I was clearing vacation. So on my retirement day, the day I became a pensioner, I was halfway up Kilimanjaro with our second son, Tom. He came with me, yeah.
And you didn't have to have. Did you get up to the top?
Yes. Tom suffered worse from altitude sickness than
you
I
did.
did. Altitude sickness is one of these things. You just can't tell if you're going to get it or not, or how bad it's going to be. But it was day 4. Tom was feeling really rough in the evening, so we fed him as much stew as he could hold and put him in the sleeping bag, and the next day he woke up, let's go. Highest point in Africa.
Yeah, I know. We've had people do. I mean, one of my closest friends has just ended up climbing the third highest mountain, the Argentinian one. The what's the
Aconcagua.
That's the one. And he got to second, but he got ill. There you go. He couldn't acclimatise.
Yeah, I had my altitude sickness. 3 years later, I did another trek to Everest Base Camp, and
Of course you did.
Yeah, as you do.
Do you know how difficult? I trek from Co-op up the hill to here, right? And I'm exhausted, right? And I've got both of my running legs on, and they're not charged. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. Well, we're all made differently.
That's very clear. That's
Yes,
very
yes,
clear.
Rest of us are so exhausted walking around the common here. You don't climb then?
No.
Okay, I think that's short and sweet.
I have one extra leg. I just have my walking leg, and
Oh right, you don't have
I
your running.
No, I don't have a running leg or anything else, or a cycling leg, or like Chris.
No, but you've got to do that, haven't you? You're driven by this.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say driven. Endurance sports was always important to me. I was a marathon runner before the accident, and if they take bits off you, it doesn't change the way you're wired up.
No.
So if there was a way back into running, then I was going to find it. And Denise had faith in me, as she told the orthopedic surgeon.
So at what point did you do the marathon with your leg?
The first one was 2012, and then when we were back in the UK, I did the London Marathon in 2017. As far as we know, I was the first above-the-knee amputee to complete London Marathon.
Wow.
Wow,
Which was-
congratulations. That's very
it's just,
special.
they didn't seem to know if anybody else had done it, so I'll take it.
So you'll take that.
Yeah.
And what was your time? Just as a matter of...
Well, 451, I think,
Oh, my
was
days.
London.
I could drive it in that time.
Yeah, but the one in Texas in 2012, that was 429.
Goodness.
Which I
Extraordinary.
was pleased with that. But yeah, with two legs when I was a younger man, I broke 3 hours in London.
Gosh.
And so I'm not as fast as I used to be, but I'm not
But
not
what's
as young
an
as I
attitude?
used to be either.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
about your best foot forward? I mean, that's, you know,
Yeah.
I haven't worked on that. I haven't worked on that. Okay, but
Just
it
occurred
is
to you, did it?
quite extraordinary that, again, this thing, we've got to wrap up. I know we've got to wrap up, but I just want to, just finally, both of you, there will be times when you're not climbing Kilimanjaro. How do you cope with the dark times?
Yeah, and there are dark times. It can be jolly inconvenient just having one leg, and sometimes things can look a bit bleak. But I would say that for us, because we're both in the same situation, it doesn't matter how bleak things are. I always have somebody right there who knows exactly what it's like. And it becomes the two of us against the common enemy of the despair, the pain, the bleakness, the confusion, and because it's the two of us against that common enemy, that makes things much easier.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's quite frustrating because I still go into school and I hear readers and things, but, you know, getting down on a low chair is quite difficult with a prosthetic, and getting up's even worse. And, you know, with grandchildren, you know, running around the garden, trying to play frisbee with the little one, you know, it's... But, you know, you have to look at how far you've come and think, well, actually, it's a miracle we're even here.
Yes.
And every day is a gift.
It is. Every day.
I mean, you've just sung about moments, but, you know, every day is just, you know, we shouldn't be here. You know, and it's and
I
it's
think
just
it's very
amazing.
special. I mean, I have so, you know, it's interesting, isn't it? You get people come in and these. Have we got this book? Here we go. Thank you.
People
Now,
are really wanting to
uh,
get this.
And I want all of you, please. How do we? Is it on your website?
Yes, you can find it on our website,
Which is
on the screen.
On the screen right here.
chrisarthey.co.uk.
And it's all on the screen. Now, there'll be people watching this throughout the week and throughout the month. They'll come back and watch this. This is the book here. Okay, here it is. It's a story beautifully written, a foreword from the foreword by Pete Gregg. And actually, our children go to Pete's church up the road in Mayors. And I think from what Sue said, she came back and she just said, you know, it's just a beautifully written book, and it's factual, but emotionally contentful as well. It's got lots of content. And Highway 35, we want you all to go out and buy it, please. How much is it? A tenner?
$15.99.
$15.99.
And
Right.
you can get it through Waterstones and Amazon stock it. But our website is a good first. Actually, on the website, you can read the first chapter. If you click on buy
Right.
now,
See what-
you
yeah,
can
see what
look
you're getting.
inside.
Read before you buy.
Yeah, and if you think the first chapter is rubbish, you don't have to buy it.
No.
And it's not.
And it's not. And I think actually a dramatic story, it's something you can give to friends.
And it's what I find is fascinating is that and what really struck me about it was that it is real. You don't sugarcoat anything. You are real about what you say, about how you feel, about the highs and the lows, and that really connects. And I'm sure that people will find, you know, they found your story just absolutely fascinating.
What have we been having
tonight.
responses?
A lot of silence. No talk about all kinds of other stuff, which is often
what they
happens.
normally do.
And
They
they
talk
have
rubbish
just
most of
been.
the time.
They have been riveted. You have been riveted, haven't you, by the story and by Chris and Denise's approach to this awful trauma that happened to them, and the way that we can see how God kept them safe in all kinds of ways. And there is much more detail in the book about ways in which God kept them safe, and the story of how they dealt with their recovery.
And also centrally, and I think actually for me, one of the things that has come out of this is from the physical, to the extraordinary
Yeah.
spiritual, to
Yeah.
say, to meet with this guy as many times as you have, and now to probably go and stay with him at some point. Be very interesting. I mean, I'm just trying to put myself always into the position that you have been. And I just think this is a God-given thing.
Well, I was going to say, it's God's
God-given
grace
moment.
given for that
Yeah.
occasion, isn't it? If someone had said to you before you went to America, 7 months soon, you're going to have this terrible accident, this guy's going to be drunk, and he's going to nearly take your lives from you, it's going to turn your life upside down, he's going to traumatise your children and all the rest of it, and you're going to forgive him, you might have thought, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that one.
The time is ended, more or less. And we've
It
got to have
has,
some
yeah.
adverts and a song.
Oh,
Okay,
don't forget the adverts.
we'll just, okay?
Yeah, forget
Well,
the adverts.
all right, we'll forget the
No,
adverts.
no need
All I
for
wanted to say
adverts.
is there we always like to give people a last thing. Is there something you can say to people out there, people who have gone through not an identical trauma, not probably as serious as this, not anywhere near as serious as this, but trauma that is debilitating. But what can they do in their lives to just kind of counteract? I can see Denise is straining at the bit. She wants to talk.
We're probably both going to say the same thing. But the thing we found most helpful was to find other amputees.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Find someone who's, gone through the trauma, is
Yeah.
further along, and speak to them. And it was just so encouraging. I mean, one thing I haven't shared, but it's in the book. My grandfather was an amputee. So for me, it wasn't quite as devastating as it was for Chris. And I got a lot of strength. I just wished I could have talked to him, but there were people that we talked to. And now this is what we like to do. We like to go alongside someone and do some mentoring if we can,
Yes.
and say, you're going to be fine,
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would say that in a way we're all disabled. I mean, our disability is more obvious because we've got a missing limb. But if we went around the people that were listening right now, there'd be some who are suffering from a medical disability. There'll be some who are suffering from grief, depression, addictions, financial worries. So our disability is just one of many. And although Highway 35 and what we've talked about tonight, if you like, it's our story, but we're not telling it because it's our story. We're telling it because we believe that there are things in our story which will help others with their disabilities, whatever it is, not to be under the circumstances, but to rise above them.
That's
Very
a
deep,
lovely
wise
couple
words.
of conclusions that, and we're so thrilled. I'm so thrilled that you dropped that note to me,
Yes.
and that I just
started this ball rolling.
Because I think it'll be marked down as one of the significant interviews of these days, of these times that we've had in this room. Thank you for sharing of yourselves, because that's essentially, I'm not interested in just then I did this and then I did that. I mean, but it's very boring. But people who have gone through stuff that then come out the other side, and who are still going through stuff, but are carrying on, keeping going on. So, final thought for you, from your impression?
I think I've shared it, actually, just the sort of the strength that you showed and the way in which you were helped on this journey by so many individuals, that actually we have a role to play, and that actually you do say in the book something about this getting alongside other people and how important that is. And I think that's true. It's that getting alongside people when you have suffered something. That's what you find, and that was something that really just jumped out of the book at me. That it's something that we've been talking about a lot. That actually we step up to walk with people rather than just avoiding talking about difficult things.
I think that's what we've of anything now. This new path that we're treading is one where we are walking the walk with people, because they want that. People need it. They need to know, particularly people who are suffering right now. And there are people that somebody said to me, you're not afraid to talk about it. And I'm not. because I remember nearly dying, and so actually, sorry, I'm away from the microphone. I need. So actually, I know the feelings. I remember the things that went through. I thought, well, I don't want to live like this. I'd rather die. I said it last night in the show, and I often say it. And so when people have those feelings of despair, where do they go? What do they do? And I think actually this very practical thing, this is what I love. You're not so spiritual, your head in the clouds, but you've got to have your head in the clouds and your feet on the ground.
That's what I said about the book.
That's
You're real.
connected.
You're
It's
real.
connected. So, and I think that's we've been really blessed. I'll use that Christian term, and I don't apologise for it. All right, I've been blessed by having you two in the smallest room in the house, apart from the
Absolutely.
loo. And that is a bit smaller. We could put the Steinway in there, couldn't we? I
Don't
suppose.
have ideas.
Upside down, sideways. We're just going to sing a song. Do you want to put the backing track on, or do you want to do it? Do you think you could? No, you don't want a chance to do it. Should we just do it? Let's do it. Oh.
Just give me a second to do it.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. Next time, we're not with you next week. It's my mother's 90th birthday, I think, on Tuesday. And so we wish her a happy birthday, Mum, for your 90th now. And you're doing so well. And I'm going to see her tomorrow. Check that she's still alive and well and telling me what to do. And we are not there until the 26th when we have the Cooper. What's her name, Susan?
Maria Scholes.
Skurs. Sorry?
Scholes.
You went Skurs.
Something like that.
Skurs.
Yeah, Scholes.
Skoils. From the Dorcas Project. And she's got some really interesting stuff to talk about with designing clothes that will be dress designs for those in poorer countries that can just do very simply. I love people being very practical in the way that they help people, and that's what we do on this community, and that's what we seek to do. I just say one thing to you: YGAF, YGAF. You've got a friend. Trust. And this week I call out to you. I was speaking to Adrian, and he's wanting to hear from you. If you've got something that you need help with, you need a new washing machine, you need something actually a piece of furniture that you need a bit of an arm around you financially, just a small amount that would help you for this time. And if you'd like to do that, if you feel embarrassed to do that, contact us, Sue or myself, and we'll put you on through to the Trust. The Trust is ready and waiting to assist you in these difficult days that we are in. And we know many of you are financially stretched, and it's very difficult to see a way through, but we don't want you to despair. And I think that's the general message right now. Don't despair. Don't empty yourself into despair, but realise there is a way out. Remember that choice. Choose. Choose. Make a choice tomorrow morning to get out of bed. Make a choice, and then make a series of choices that leads to a better way of existing. All right, we can do this. If these people can do this, and they become the first fruits, the way of actually leading us into this, then we can modify our own behaviour to do that. And we seek God's help as we do it, actually, as we go, and we go peaceful. How are we doing? Yeah. You got it? Yeah. Okay, put it on then. There we go. And here, a bit later than usual, but it was such a good interview that we want to just get on with it, and here's Go Peaceful. Here's Sue joining us. You all right for this, Susan Ann? Go peaceful in gentleness through the violence of these days. Give freely.
Don't give me the words.
Tenderness.
Don't give me the words that you're singing.
In all your days. Through darkness. In troubled times. There you go. Go peaceful in gentleness through the violence of these days. Give freely, show tenderness in all your ways. Sue joins me through darkness in troubled times, and sing along at home if you like to. Through darkness in troubled times, let holiness be your aim. Let faithfulness burn like a flame. Godspeed you. Godspeed you. God lead you and keep you wrapped around his heart. May you be known by love. And tonight we think of Peter Southcombe, who has probably gone to bed because he was very worn out. But we think of him as you can watch it again. And he's having lots of treatment this week again. We think of Dan Bellamy, who's also gone to bed, I imagine.
Yes, with a bad back.
We think of those people actually who are suffering in grief at the moment.
We think of Liz, you're missing Tom. It's very difficult for you, we know. And think of you.
We also think of Lynn and Jim, who came last night.
Yesterday, lovely to see them yesterday.
We think also of Karen with Heather, doing such sterling, caring work, and so many of you out there. Here we go, Sue. Be righteous, speak truthfully in a world of greed and lies. Show kindness, see everyone through heaven's eyes. God hold you, enfold you, and keep you wrapped around his heart. May you by love, God hold you, enfold you, and keep you wrapped around his heart. May you be known by love. Have we got the last one on as well? So we sing finally for you tonight as we go and we say goodbye. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in and seeing us. It's been lovely having you in the room with us. So much to take away with us, so much to learn. And God bless you, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and give you his peace. The Lord bless you and keep you and be gracious to you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord turn his face toward you. The Lord bless you and keep you and be gracious to you. The Lord Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord turn his face toward you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and be gracious to you, and be gracious to you. Sue, when's the next show?
The next show, the live show, in April.
In here.
Oh, in here, the 26th.
The 26th.
Not next week, the week
Not
after.
next week, the week after that. You can join us once again, JV Live in the Steinway Room. We've got another great evening for you lined up. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and give you his peace, and give you his peace. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we welcome you again to the room in the 26th of March. It's the 26th of March. You have to say something 3 times. I'm going to say it 4 times for you lot. The 26th, and we can't wait for you to join us again. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us. Love you lots.
And
Have a
good
couple of
night.
weeks.
Good night from our guests, Chris and Denise.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Buy the book. Go and do it now.